We are live. Greetings and salutations, test takers. Coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on historic Route 66 here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Always a blessing to have with us most Tuesdays, I think almost every Tuesday. Brian Lee, the Test Geek himself, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. I'll give you a little trick. You know, where is Waldo? If you're trying to figure out where Brian's at, if he's got that wood board, that means he's in the Northwest. Seattle. I do think it's a little bad that he, cut down 1,000-year-old to make it right. If it's the chrome, the glitzy whiteboard, then he's in Vegas. So if you're trying to stock the Test Geek now, you know how. We'll take care of some housekeeping. Tell us what series exam you're taking, where you're joining us from. If you do have a question for us, it's helpful if you tell us what exam it's about. You know, every exam, there's some overlap, but there's things that are different in terms of depth and stuff like that. So it's helpful. It's not necessary, but it's helpful if you actually tell us what you're doing. Now, in terms of housekeeping, my channel is organized. It's the best free supplement out there. Coming up, Brian, hard to believe, 7 million views. Nice. Just crossed over 50,000 subscribers. Wow. We have over 1,600 videos. Crazy. Anyways, if you're using the channel, it's organized in series playlists. You go to the playlist. The first playlist is usually a podcast episode that will tell you what the content is cover to cover. As much as Brian and I would like you to read the book cover to cover, this is our version on 65 and 66. Brian collaborated with me, Test Geek and Guru. We did a whole podcast series. I always start with that just to get an overview. And then you'll see there's other playlists. There's usually a playlist of lectures. There's a playlist of explications. There's a playlist of practice tests and practice questions. So that's the best way to get the most value out of that if you want to binge. It's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. The playlists are in suggested watch order. The videos in the playlist are in suggested watch order. Now, if you're trying to find a particular topic, it's okay tonight. Brian and I know we're going to get the same question asked and answered that we've asked and answered 5 times. Those answers all live in video form forever. And if you just went to the channel search bar and you put in accrued interest or margin or internal rate of return, all that content would magically appear. So please use that channel search bar if you're looking for particular content on a particular subject. I just put up today an explainative practice question on participants and compensation and municipal underwritings. I put up today our Guru Jam session. We do a weekly jam session. If you're interested in that, you go to my booking page, deantenneytutoring.setmar.com. Everything on the YouTube channel is free. You know, YouTube is always after me to sell, coffee cups and T-shirts and channel memberships, and he doesn't speak to me at any level. So it's all free. But on the actual booking page, the only things that are free are the weekly jam sessions and the free office hours for paid students. And you can find us and join us, and you can see one we just did today. We have a lot of fun. We have a whiteboard that we take out. We can go to the Kaplan Q Bank and do questions. So if you want to join us for that, you can do that. That's also where you claim your drawing prize. If you win the drawing tonight, you win a coaching call, and that's found on the class tab. You don't need me to claim your prize. You just go to the deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. You go to the class tab, hit coaching call, and you register, and that's how you claim your winnings. Now, if you're looking for paid supplement, I just had this discussion today with somebody, Brian. Brian, I think, does the best job of distillation. So this person was asking me, what of my videos should she watch in the next few days? And I said, there's 1,600 videos there. I don't know which video to tell you to watch. I have a couple that are labeled as must watch, but if you're looking for distillation, she also, Brian, had your paid supplement. I said, listen, if you want to watch a bunch of videos between now and test time, go rewatch Brian's videos. There's no fluff there. It's all testable content rather than trying to, jump around on my channel trying to find stuff. So Brian, I think with a Kaplan Q Bank is, I think, the best paid supplement. You can get a Kaplan Q Bank for, as little as, I think it's like $55.80 for the 7, between $50 and $60 with my 15% discount code. And Brian has been kind enough to offer a 20% discount to our viewers, and that's Guru20. So Brian comes in with the discount code, his videos, his class notes, his, I think, the best practice test out there, about $100. You get the Q Bank, you're looking at $160 for a paid supplement. I don't think it's time to be frugal. If you have the resources, make sure you're using those resources to get through this rite of passage, right? You know, if you're poor and deserve to be rich, the securities industry is for you, and there's a barrier to entry called passing your exam. So whatever you need to do to get past that initial rite of passage, make sure you do it. We have you're not alone. We have a lot of communities. We have a Facebook community, Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. Our Facebook community has chats for the various exams, and there's always study groups being formed over there. So if you're looking to form a study group, you might want to check that out. We just passed 1,100 members. Crazy. We're also active on Reddit. We have some Reddit communities. We have R Series 6. We have R Series 7 for the SIE and the 7. We have R Series 66 for all the NASA exams. And we have all R Series 24 for 9s, 10s, 24s, 57s, you know, all kinds of 79s. Boy, we have been in a good flow, Brian. About the last 2 weeks, all I've been doing is 24 tutoring, and everybody is passing. And I don't think that's me, by the way, because a lot of people, even with tutoring, struggle on that. But it seems like the 24 testing gods are smiling favorably upon us. Okay, so let me put Brian back up here with me. Whoop. There we go. And let's see, Brian, what we got going on in terms of comments. Pass the SIE. Woo! Hey, CT.
Not a doubt. Not a doubt. I knew CT was going to pass.
I've initiated a new thing besides the bell. Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Adult libation for our victory.
There you go. Cheers.
CT, that's so exciting. The answer to your question is yes. Why would you want to stop?
Yep. Go straight there. Yep.
You go right into it, man, because the SIE, I wish we still gave scores, Brian, on people who pass.
I know. I did too.
Here's why. One of the reasons. I got many reasons. But one reason, CT, is I would love to know what your score was, to know how well you've are kicking off your 7 study effort. That's why I so much want people to overlearn the SIE for 2 reasons. One, I certainly want them to pass, but secondly, it sets yourself up. It pays dividends on your study, execution of your 7 study plan. Yeah, right. And if you're going on to 6, Brian and I think both of us think you could almost pass out of a 6 if you do a real good effort on that SIE. So hopefully you didn't come out of the SIE wobbly. You know, we don't know if you barely passed or not. Pass is a pass. Hey, as Brian said, you got the P. That's all that matters. But the answer to the question is most certainly. Remember, it's kind of like it'll be interesting to see the game next what is it, tomorrow night, the Thunder and our Pacers, and Thunder have been waiting around for a while, right? Sometimes it's better just to keep playing, keep your rhythm. So yes, the answer is you should go straight into your 7. Give yourself some celebratory refresh and reset. Maybe, what do you think? 2-3 days, Brian?
Yeah, a week at the most. Yeah.
A week at the most. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Taking the Series 7 next week, pass 3 practice exams, but sharpening the edges. Mick, I love the way you talk.
I do too.
Sharpening the edges, man. That turns me on as a Marine. That's the kind of guy I want to go into battle. And what are you doing? I'm sharpening my edges. We have a saying in the Marine Corps, Brian, with a jab, attack. Would you say long market value, debit, equity, SMA questions, sharpening? Well, I don't know. I think when I get weak, I don't know if what Brian will say this. People say, Dean, do you have to? I have to read the book. I say, yes, you have to read the book. Do I have to read the book? I say, you got to read the book. You can't be serious. I said, well, not only am I serious, you probably should read it more than once. And now when I get weak at about the 1,000th time, Mick, I say, okay, maybe you don't have to read margin and partnerships. They're just not target-rich environments. So, maybe 2, 3, max 4 questions on margin. They're pretty straightforward. Make sure you know the documentation. I have a lecture. The lecture is titled Don't Overdose on Margin, Mick. Good. I have tutoring replays where you can watch me do hellacious margin questions based on past perfect that nobody's ever going to see on the exam. But her firm wouldn't let her move on until I don't consider that cheating, Mick, to hire me to help you answer past perfect questions for your corporate trainer, because I think it's a waste of time anyways, because it's just not going to be there. The slobs over list types of orders is very testable. It's not a lot of questions, but it's definitely there. I mean, When you think about it, the test itself, Mick, is based on critical functions to being a broker. And so if you're not sure how testable something is, you can say, do I think my broker knows this? And if I say I don't know it, it doesn't cause you to have crisis and faith in me. It's not that big a deal. But we do think that brokers know market orders, limit orders, right? Options. Basic options aren't so much that brokers are going to be doing it, but improving that you can learn new things, so to speak, is one of the functions there. But I was just telling Brian, I couldn't believe it. I market ordered to buy a Pixel 9 XL Pro. I wasn't even concerned about the price. It still took me 2.5 hours. It just frosts me because it should be immediate execution at the best available price. I'm not interested in the price. I just want to walk in and out with a phone. Shouldn't take me 2.5 hours. So you pay the strike price. Well, it depends. If you're short the call, you don't pay the strike price. You receive the strike price. That's okay. I'm not going to be bothered by that, right? So you should know the consequences of being exercised, or the way we sometimes say is being assigned. So, Mick, if you're long a call and you exercise, and I'm a margin clerk, I'm going to say, listen, you just exercised a 40 call, one contract. Where is the $4,000? And if you're short the call, I say, hey, Mick, you just received an assignment. You have to deliver the stock at 40. You say, well, I choose not to. I say, you're confused. You don't have a choice obligation. You need the stock. He goes, well, where can I get the stock? Or maybe Mick says, what if it was in my account? I said, Mick, if the stock was in your account, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. We would have just delivered the stock. Mick says, you know where I can get the stock? I say, I do. Every day between 9:30 and 4 o'clock, Mick, there's a place where you can get the market, get the stock. It's a marketplace, NASDAQ in New York. And he said, well, maybe it's less than 40. I said, Mick, you're really confused. Again, if the stock was less than 40, we wouldn't be having this discussion because it would have expired worthless. Now, when you're long a put and you exercised, you need the stock. Now, I was teaching one time, Brian, I was talking about the puts, and I said, okay, so I'm going to stick it to the guy at 40. I'm going to sell it to him at 40. And this lady said, that's the most unchristian thing I've ever heard of. I would never stick it to anybody. And I go, well, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, don't trade options. Don't go into the casino if you don't want to gamble, right? Exactly. Now, if I'm short the put, then I'm going to have to come up with cash to pay for the stock. So make sure, the three things that can happen to an option contract is the option contract can be traded, the option contract can be exercised, the option contract can expire. So anyways, Mick, I just love where you're at. So no worries there. No worries whatsoever. Oh, Brett, man, I'll just tell you what, we've got a group we got tonight. Brett referring to herself as a baby broker. I just love it. It is not a derogatory term. It's a term of endearment for rookies in the securities industry. SIE tomorrow, and I know you're going to pass. You got an 83 on the mastery, 82 on Brian. I see no problems, Brett, tomorrow. You making your mark. I would prefer your testing in the morning. So, guard yourself, cloister yourself, stay away from any energy vampires between now and 2:45 tomorrow, right? Sequester yourself, if you will. I think there's no reason to expect that you're not going to make your mark. So, as I said, the baby broker is a term of endearment. Brian, when I had a baby broker, his name was Pat. He's a very nice guy. And I had another guy named Larry, and he was kind of a jerk. And, Pat would make mistakes behind the scenes. Everybody would take care of it for him. And Larry would have a mistake, and then he'd try and blame everybody else, and he'd cuss at him. And anyways, he came in my office, and he was upset, and he goes, well, how come Patrick never has any problems? I said, well, Larry, he does. As a baby broker, he's a nice guy. So everybody behind the scenes is cleaning up after him. So it looks like he doesn't have any problems, but he does. He goes, well, why does it happen to me? I go, okay, well, let's just talk about yesterday. You cussed out that person in the order department, and you may have forgot it today, but she certainly hasn't. And when she sees you make a mistake, she goes, yeah, I could fix it. Let him figure it out, right? So being nice in the securities industry does pay dividends. I'm excited. We are in a roll this last couple of weeks, Brian. So many people are passing their exams. I just think the testing gods are smiling, and I don't know how long this trend is going to last. I had somebody yesterday go, test. We're in a good place right now. What kind of tax questions can you expect in terms of estate tax, AMT, etc.? Well, I think almost every test taker I know, Brian, overdoses on what they think the tax questions are going to be. Most of them come up in the context of either suitability or the investment itself. I would know the estate tax is a progressive tax. I would know life insurance is tax-free proceeds. AMT, I would know about private activity bonds. I don't know what to say about et cetera. Et cetera could be a whole lot of things. I do have a video, a lecture called Death and Taxes. No, just taxes on taxes. There are tax questions about, incentive stock options versus non-qualified options, qualified dividends versus unqualified dividends. But I don't think I would, I suggest that people use study blocks. I'm not so sure. Like I got a guy who's doing 4 study blocks a day that he would take, 4 study blocks and 90 minutes to do taxation. I would, as I'm learning about dividends, that's when I would handle the tax consequences of the cash dividend, taxed at ordinary income or not, stock dividends not being taxable, a dividend one corporation paid to another 50% tax excludable. Your thoughts on taxes, Brian? I think you have a video, don't you, on taxes or estate taxes?
I do. And it's primarily for Series 7. It's a pretty good overview of taxation. For the 66 specifically, you've pretty much named them, estate taxes.
Yeah.
There's always the gifting stock versus inheritance, and the increase in cost basis. When estate taxes are valued and when they are required to be paid.
Right.
AMT, you already learned everything you need to know about AMT from the Series 7, right? The private purpose bond, what you said, is something that you don't recommend if someone is subject to AMT, because that's
it's a binary thing. Most test primitives go way overboard on it.
Way overboard.
Taking the 66 exclusions and exemptions of the IA related to the Investment Advisor Act, Uniform Securities Act. Dee, I just hate this question because there's no testable distinction between exclusions or exemption. All that means is you better come up with some explanation about why you're not registering an investment advisor. They're not going to ask you, is it an exclusion or is it an exemption? It's going to say, under what circumstances does an IA not register? Second point, would I like you to know everything? The answer is yes. But the Uniform Securities Act, the template you're being tested on, is way more important than any federal legislation. So I would prefer that you spend that time not on 33, not on 40, not on 34, but the Uniform Securities Act, the template. NASA is the one making you take this test. And again, mainly the question is about registering, not registering. How do you register? Form ADV, Part 1 and 2. And I think it's the same with securities, Brian. I just think people get in the weeds on this stuff. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And
watch our podcast. Oh, I always forget. We got a podcast.
Watch our podcast. That's right. The one thing you mentioned that you didn't like the question that she posed or he posed, and I felt the same way. One reason is you said exclusions and exemptions of an IA. Would that be federal IA or state IA? If you haven't made those distinctions yet, that's where you got to go. And you're absolutely right. It's really not a distinction between 40 Act and USA. Absolutely not. And would this person absolutely like my definitions and registration of persons?
Yeah, we have on the YouTube channel. Brian was kind enough to do an evening class that's available as a replay called Definitions of Registrations in Persons. You can use the search bar to find that. It's in the on the channel. I'll put it in the video description for you. And I think it's excellent. We have, I haven't checked lately, Brian, but hundreds of thousands of views. And
nice.
People just think it made a major contribution. Now, Dee, I'm going to make an offer on behalf of Brian that he may not want to honor because he had 200 people. But Brian has offered in the past his cheat sheet. And it's all over social media, Brian, about how helpful that is. And people asking me all the time, well, can I get one? I go, don't ask me. Ask Brian.
I probably get about 10 a day.
10 a day. There you go. So, Dee, if you ask politely, send Brian an email, brian@testgeekexamprep.com. I think I have a banner for you, Brian.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Oh, there we go. And he might send you, I think what's really wonderful is his little cheat sheet about, who's who and where they go. I use when I'm tutoring. Say, okay, let's put your firm here. There's your firm. It's one of these. I call it the cast of characters. Who is the cast of characters to Brian's point? So I think you got to read the question once just to find out who are they asking you about. Are they asking you about, a federally covered advisor, an agent of a broker dealer. Who's the question about, right? So that's important. Okay, let's see where I am. I shouldn't have left this. Perhaps we did that one already. Oh my goodness, Luis, thank you so much. Woo! Big money, big money.
Wow.
Brian and I,
all 3 exams.
Well, not only will we toast this adult beverage in your honor of your victories, Brian and I will use that $50 to have another toast in your honor.
Absolutely.
Wow. Hi, Rosemary. Thanks for joining us. I love that smile. So spirit-filled. I would never have an avatar like that, Rosemary, because I'd be afraid that when I'm having a bad day, everybody would say, hey, look at your avatar, Dean. You're a happy guy. Not every day. So very spirit-filled. Thank you so much. We broadcast to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So it always warms my heart when I see somebody joining us from LinkedIn. So thank you so much for joining us from LinkedIn. And we did that one. 66 from Miami. All right. Woohoo. Is it hot and sticky there? We got monsoons here in Arizona, and I think Florida is a wonderful place, but I can't handle hot and sticky. So when people say, well, Arizona, I go, yeah, but we're 100 and dry most of the time. 66. Woohoo. Well, man, if we keep having so many testing victories, I'm going to be lit by the time we get out of here.
No kidding. Jeez.
That trick accomplished, Mike.
Wow, nice.
Man, crazy. I mean, I just don't know what's in the air this last couple of weeks. Everybody's testing. Love it.
Dean, you're going to be falling out of your chair by 6 o'clock.
Well, maybe I'll only celebrate certain victories. You know?
Okay. Well, a hat trick is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And there's another one.
There, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Thank you.
You already did it.
Man, but hey, P.S. Thank you so much, Victorious Test Takers, for coming back to check in with us. It's really good for morale because we have people who think they're alone and they're not. And I just love when Victorious Test Takers come back. I don't know why you don't want to take Brian and I's word for testable content, but it's always nice if you don't. You can ask a Victorious Test Taker. Don't get too wrapped up in somebody else's draw because the draws are different. But I certainly appreciate those of you who come back and say hi. You're always welcome any Tuesday to come say hi and tell us what's going on in your life. And boy, once you get all this done, right, then you get to start making some money.
Yeah.
Right. As I joke, Brian and I come into your life for a reason and a season. The reason is pass your test. The seasons is how long it takes. Okay. I think I'm getting caught up here. Sorry about that.
One more. Go one. There you go.
Yeah. Onto the practice files. I love it. That's exactly the right sequence. Yeah. Right. We're not doing practice finals as mindlessly to learn the information. We're doing practice files. Now what we're doing is doing an intellectual inventory to get a mark of where you're at, using the performance tracker to see what areas we need to remediate. Exactly. And I don't believe in doing more than one practice test a day. And I think you should spend as much time in remediation of those practice tests as you did taking them. Now, I'd be interesting, Brian, what your thoughts are on this. I get asked all the time.
Yeah, we talk.
Should I remediate all the questions I did in a practice test, even the ones I got right? I say no, and here's why. It's counterintuitive, but you're trying to find out what you don't know. Now, I've heard people who say, and test takers who take this advice, it's a buffet, pick a choice. Well, you need to confirm that you got it right for the right reasons. And so it should still be part of your remediation. The problem with that is that if that's what you're doing and I'm doing the opposite, which is just going over the stuff I missed, I'm going to be able to find way more things for remediation than you're ever going to find because you're burning clock time on things you already know. So I don't believe in remediating every question right or wrong. I believe in remediation of those things you missed, using the performance tracker to go to that area and remediate. Your thoughts, Brian, on remediating every question?
Yeah, absolutely. We only review the ones we got wrong.
Yeah.
We run the performance tracker. I don't know how much about you, Dean, but every single day I hear somebody say, I've done 3 practice finals and I'm still getting 68s. And I go, did you run the performance tracker? What are your weakest areas? And then, they go, oh, you mean So again, for a lot of people, because a lot of OGs,
I
old
was
guys,
wondering if you're going to go there.
right, still believe that you just do a bazillion practice
Yeah.
questions and you pass.
You know,
It doesn't work
it's
that way.
sad. It's sad that some people have to learn this the hard way.
That's right. So
But I had
you
a guy today,
remediate those
and
weak areas.
I'm finally going to do it the way you told me to do it, because he was doing just that, Brian. He's now failed twice trying to just rifle through practice questions.
Exactly. When you find those weak areas, you can use Dean's videos on those particular topics, use my videos on those particular topics, either one or both.
Yeah.
Right. And perhaps a 10, 12 question quiz on that particular area to help reinforce it. So you find the 3 weakest areas on that performance tracker. You review the videos of Dean's or mine's on that particular topic, right? Do a 10 to 12 questions, not 50, because you're going to get in the weeds on those particular areas. Then you can take another one. Let's see if it's improved. Yeah. Let's see if those weak areas are a little bit better.
Right, yeah.
Right? That's how it's done. You don't just do bazillion practices.
Barely missed, man. Those high scores on the 66, are just depressing. I mean, it's exasperating. I'm dating myself, Acolyte, but in the old days, there wasn't a 30-day wait period. And when somebody got a high, almost passing score, I would tell them just to queue it up again. Now they make you wait 30 days. But I do let me give you kudos. You already have rescheduled, and I love that, because a lot of times people don't get a test date. And they say, well, Dean, I'm just going to wait. It'll make you wait 30, but you can schedule it. And best practice is to have a test date. So I love that you already have said, I'm getting into my new test date. That's the next time I'm going to cave to slay the dragon. A lot of times, Acolyte, I'm talking to people and they don't have their new date yet. And it's like, well, how is your brain going to focus if you don't know that? Brian, your thoughts?
So here we go again. Guess what we're going to be doing? You just took a test, didn't make the mark. So now we've got an inventory. We know exactly what the dragon looks like in the Series 66 game. And you also know which areas are your weakest. You got that score sheet. Do you know what topics are in each area? Do you have the Series 66 content outline? It's in my class notes. I think Dean's got it as well. So there's your weak area. So remediate this exam as well.
Love
Which
it.
topics are you the weakest?
Love it. That's some nuggets there for sure.
Yeah.
I've been watching your replays. They help me a lot. Thank you so much. You're welcome. I take the 7 next week. Does Brian? He certainly does, Georgia. Now, listen, I don't know how people don't understand what I'm about to say. Brian will sell you the PDF of his practice exam a la carte. And is it still $20 or $25, Brian?
For the final, yeah.
So here's what Georgia. Okay, Georgia. What frustrates Brian and I is when people just want to buy his practice exam. Sometimes they'll send me an email or Brian an email. All I got was a PDF of a practice to final. And we go, well, that was what you told you were going to give for $20, right? So if you buy Brian's whole course, it comes with it. So Brian's got various levels of his supplement. I'll just let you, Brian, tell him what those levels of your supplement.
And I don't want to make this into a marketing.
Yeah, it's not a problem. It's not a commercial for Brian.
But again, if you're looking for some material on my website, those are just downloadable PDFs. Also on the website, there is a clickable tab where you then go to the video platform so you can look for the videos, which include the PDFs as well.
So you don't need to buy the PDF if you buy the supplement.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Can you explain cash balance sheet versus accrual balance sheet? Well, certainly. First, I would say I don't think it's a big deal on the test. Accrual, yeah, one question. Yeah. So accrual means like instead of saying I'm going to prepay my what do I subscribe to? Oh, that we're coming to you on a software platform called StreamYard. So if I let's say it costs me $1,200 a year, cash means I just say $1,200 as an expense. Accrual would mean each year I'm going to deduct. I have this prepaid expense as an asset, and I'm going to bill the other side as I go each month the $200. That is the major difference. Whether you're just going to take the receipt, money in or money out, cash, or you're going to accrue it. Brian says one question. I don't even have anybody even tell me they saw that.
I have. I've had several people tell me that.
What do you think the content of the question would be?
And essentially, One includes accounts receivable and the other one doesn't.
Oh, where they go? My point, right? Because I have no accounts receivable because I'm being
That's
paid.
exactly what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Dean, I passed the SIE a few weeks back. Woo! Oh man, I don't want to rain on your parade, Joe, but I would so prefer that's a 7, a 63, and a 24. It's okay, but someday you're going to have to come back and get a 7 and a 24 because your firm is going to roll out some product or those registrations don't work. But hey, you should be in good shape for your 6. 63, I think you should be in good shape. 26 is, I think, kind of a weird one because it has this like 24 stuff in it. So I always think 26 can be kind of challenging just because it's a derivative, kind of an exam. Your thoughts on those exams, Ryan?
Ditto. As Dean said earlier, you could probably almost test out of the Series 6 just from the SIE.
Oh, hold on, Brian. Hold on. I gotta go back this thing. Brian gave me permission. Please check the ticker. I have Brian's permission. Here it comes. Come on, baby.
What do you got?
There we go. How cool is that, Brian?
This is my epitaph, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be on my.
Brian, I have room on my ticker for one more kind of a text message.
You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
Yeah, and I said, "Hey, Brian, can I put that on the ticker?" And he said, "Sure." So there you go. All right. I'm sorry for that brief interruption.
As Dean said earlier, you can almost test out of the 6 just because of the SIE. However, don't underestimate it. Do a couple practice finals, right? Get some practice questions. Go through Dean's videos, right, or mine, or both, or whatever. But the 6 and then the 63 shouldn't be so much of a challenge. But you're absolutely right, Dean. That 26 can be a bear. Yeah. So you got to be careful of that.
We're in monsoons. Boy, the thunder has been crazy today. Easiest way to know when an agent is exempt. Well, biggest way to know an agent is exempt, I think, is based on working for the issuer with no compensation. But again, I don't think you're on the broad avenues and highways of the exam. It's not about who doesn't need to be registered. How does an agent register? They register with a U4. What are reasons for statutory disqualification? What's a U5? So I think you're being too much on the negative side of the test, like exclusions, exemptions, So, the main transactions would be without compensation where you work for an issuer would be the big one that comes to my mind. Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I tell people in my courses always, agents 99 out of 100 times, if they're accepting or placing orders for securities, they have to register an agent. Yeah. There is very few exceptions. Now, in an exempt transaction, which is kind of what it sounds like he's saying, agents are still not exempt. They're still buying, placing, accepting orders for securities. Yeah. An exempt transaction exempts registration for securities.
I think where act like this comes up, and Brian has a question that people hate, and Kaplan has a similar question, where people are confusing exempt transactions from the agent. So you have a question, Brian, where I think the agent is taking orders from a bank and they get hung up that it's a bank and not a retail customer, which isn't the question. The question is about the agent who needs to be registered. So
that's right. Yeah.
So
99 out of 100 times.
Again, we're not, listen, we don't do the Tuesdays as promos, but I would tell you that definition of registrations and registration, I think, is you're going to love it because it's basically your questions. It's right on. Nobody settles T+2. There's nothing that settles T+2. Nothing. We live in a 2+1 universe. We have for many, many months. So Brett, you should just let T+2 go. Everything is T+1. The only thing that would be 2 is under Reg T, customers get 2 additional business days to settle. But that's not T+2. That would be T+1+2. They get 2 days from settlement to get that. So there's no reason for you to get mixed up because there's no answer that ever is going to be T+2. The only answer that is going to be correct is T+1. Go over the ones you got wrong, then review the notes on those topics. I don't think notes, I call it lay base on those areas you're remediating. That comes from reading videos, practice questions. So not just review your notes. I mean, the notes could be part of that process.
That's right.
But it's more than reviewing notes. It's all the arrows in your quiver for remediation. The arrows in your quiver would be reading, videos, practice questions, reviewing your notes. Those are your arrows in your quiver.
That's exactly right, Dean. Videos, yours and or mine, along with the class notes for that, and then a custom quiz or two of, say, 10 to 12 questions.
Right.
And if you need to, go back in the textbook and read a paragraph.
Reading is, listen, we agree. It's not a Russian novel or a British romance novel, but, hey, read it.
Yeah, there's too much at stake here, right? When we review, we're going to review all of our assets.
Yeah. That's what we said. It's the barrier to entry into the securities industry. We want to be the few and the proud, not the many and the humble, right? So this is designed. I had a client, Brian. I made a $24,000 commission. He knew it, and he said, Dean, man, I could refer people to you, and I could get some of that 24 grand. His name is Russell. I said, that's a great idea, Russell. I hand him a stack of books, and he said, what's this? I go, that's the stuff you need to pass the SIE, the 7, the 66. And hey, when you get all that done, then I'd be more than happy to give you 12 of the 24 if you want to come to work for me. He goes, well, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, I didn't think you did. So thank you very much. No split with you. Right. So act like Vince is one of my favorite students. He showed up today in the TM session. And I love this guy. And I said, hey, Vince, what are you doing here? I thought we did the plan B and you passed. He goes, Dean, I'm doing my 7 now. So he's doing his reverse order. And I said, well, hell, I'm glad that our season isn't over. I thought our season was over. Acolyte, he had done his 66, and I had talked to him enough that I thought, I very rarely surprised. I was surprised that he missed his mark. And I said, I'm very surprised. I think you have a pretty good handle on this information. And I'm surprised you missed your mark. But listen, the 63, 65 is the equivalent of a 66. And I believe, based on the time I spent with you, that you could pass out of a 63 tomorrow and a 65 on Friday. And so if you want to be aggressive as a plan B, it's not a plan A. Passing the 66 is the way to go. But why don't you do that? And I'll be damned, Acolyte, that's what he did. He that following week took his 63, 65, back in business, right? So as a fallback, I like that. Now, I'm not suggesting, I've heard crazy recommendations where you should take the 63, 65 instead of a 66. And I go, that makes no sense because the whole point of the 66 is not to have to go take 2 tests. You only have 100 questions. But as a fallback, I'm okay with that. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's a plan B.
It's a plan
not B. A plan A.
Marcel, hey. I was at the Suncoast, Marcel, and Brian, unfortunately, had already left town. Remember, you left Wednesday morning. I wasn't there till Wednesday night. So I stayed there and I got to try it out. It was excellent, Brian. So Marcel, when you come, we'll go do it again. I stayed there because I figured I could walk to Rampart and there's a Total Wine there. So it's kind of my.
I could introduce you to a couple of people if I had known you were going to say
the sports book is amazing.
They just rebuilt it.
Can you believe that? The only thing I didn't like is they moved the sport book to the other end. It's not as cigar friendly as it used to be.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I miss you guys. Being an advisor is tough, but loving it. Love it. Daniel, you look good, man. Look at that power look. You've got the beard and what is that, a yellow tie? I used to tell my baby brokers, Daniel, there's a couple things you can't fake. A good tie, tied properly, nice belt and shoes. The rest of it, till you get some resources, you can wait to get an Armani suit or something. But, did you ever meet this guy? Brian, what was his name? Oh, he was one of the Kaplan instructors. I forget his name. And he just thought he was all that. And anyways, I had showed up and I had Birkenstocks on and I forget, whatever. And he said, well, Dean, I don't know if I could, in good conscience, show up dressed like you're dressed. And, and he went on, you kind of look like a drug dealer. And I go, yeah, I wasn't the look I was going for. And I said, but hey, listen, the less competent you are, the more formally you ought to be dressed. Yeah, because he's always dressed. So, Daniel, this isn't a comment to you. It's this guy. He goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, the shoe fits. Wear it. Love the videos. All right. Didn't pass 66. 1 point. There was a question. Well, I love input. Give me the question. We're more than happy to try and help you on it. Can you please go over qualified retirement plans versus qualified retirement plans?
Brian. I get this question every other day. I really do. And it's not complicated. It really is.
Not qualified here. Let me give my real 2 cents and I'll give it to Brian. When I think as a test taker about qualified retirement plans, I'm thinking it's qualified in that I'm getting it from my employer and I get to use pre-tax money. I have a zero cost base, so everything coming out is going to be taxed at ordinary income. When I think non-qualified plan, I think variable annuity. There's others, but I think variable annuity. It's not from my employer. If it's a tax-deferred annuity, I'm using after-tax money. I have a cost basis. And again, everything coming out is going to be taxed at ordinary income except for my cost basis. So those are the big things that we mean when we're taking the test about qualified versus non-qualified, right? Brian, let me give you your board there. Brian's got his little board there.
As a matter of fact, I was illustrating exactly what you were saying. You tell people exactly the same thing I do, right? Yeah. For qualified plans, like your 401k.
That's the one most people are familiar with.
That's right. And I generally say, if it's got letters and numbers to it, it's probably qualified, right?
I like that.
And it all goes in pre-tax. The monies have never been taxed at all, right? That's how we say a zero cost basis. $0 has been taxed. Once you take it out, that means all of it is taxable. And Dean, I always give a person a question here. Would this money be taxed as ordinary income, capital gains, both, or neither? And I can't tell you how many people get that question wrong. It's all ordinary income. All retirement plans are ordinary
income. There's no way to turn ordinary income into a capital gain tax.
And what word almost always on the test goes with this hyphenated term, non-qualified? Just like Dean said, variable annuity. I don't think most textbooks present annuities as a retirement plan, but that's what it was originally created, that's how the IRS taxes it. Now, the only difference is that the money's going in is after tax. It's already been taxed. So you got 10,000, 20,000, whatever, that's already be taxed. So only the gains will be taxed upon distribution. And how is it taxed? Ordinary income, capital gains, both, neither. It's ordinary income.
I got a video. Just put in the channel search bar variable annuity. I have a whole lecture on it. I've got all kinds of practice questions that you can look at. It's definitely the content is there. We got some people with good smiles, don't we? Look at Marcel's got a good smile, but we got all kinds of good smiles in our group tonight.
You're right. God, they're all smiling. I love it.
The recipe to success is Kaplan course, Kaplan on demand videos, final study, Brian, and practice exams in that order. Woo! Hey. I like that. That's a good recommendation.
Yes.
What is Brian's website? His website is testgeekexamprep.com, right, Brian?
That's it.
That's testgeekexamprep.com. Thank you. Taking the 66 June 11th.
Let's see your pretty face there.
Sorry. I was doing so good, man. I thought I was going to have a whole night where I got the backstage correct. Bass 7. Woohoo! Diana, thanks for joining us from LinkedIn. Boy, we got a lot of LinkedIn folks tonight. Thanks for all the help. I love it. So what's next? Your next testing victory, 63 or 66? What's your next testing victory? It was a late question. Well, late is we don't have as many memory aids as I would like for NASA exams.
No, you don't. You're right.
But one of them is late, and that stands for lawyers, accountants, teachers, and engineers. And again, the point here would be they don't have to register if the advice is incidental. So I'm a personal injury attorney. I win $300 million. I say, Stacy, $200 million for me, $100 million, 200 for you, 100 for me. You might think that I'm handling that kind of money. I have some expertise. And you say, Dean, what should I do with my $200 million? I say, why don't you call Stacy and she'll help you with your investments? Or why don't you buy a mutual fund? I just gave investment advice. Do I have to register? I don't. I'm an accountant. I say, Brian, I'm going to reflect that you're funding an IRA. So on your tax return, I'm reducing your gross income by the amount you're going to put into an IRA. You should buy a mutual fund. I didn't charge him for that. It's in little being an accountant. As a teacher, I have a friend, Clarice. She said, Dean, what should I do with my $4,000? I said, Clarice, she thinks of me as a teacher. I don't think of myself as a teacher, but she does. And so that's why she's relying upon me in this scenario. And she says, Dean, what should I do with my $4,000? I said, Clarice, do you have the time, temperament, expertise to be managing money? She says, no. I said, you ought to hire a professional money manager. She said, can I hire a professional money manager with as little as $4,000? I said, there are men and women who sold their soul to manage that $4,000 for you, Clarice. You need to buy a mutual fund. I just gave her investment advice. I didn't charge her for it. I don't need to be registered. I'm an engineer. I'm building an airport. I say, Brian, we should call my guy Goldman Sachs and sell some bonds to finance the airport, right? So one was someone who creates reports and advises for clients. Well, if they're advising clients and the advice is not incidental, then they lose that exemption. The other is a trust company who provides information on securities. Trust companies are neither investment advisors nor broker dealers because they don't charge for that. As a trust company, I'm not charging you for advice or for transactions. So I don't think any of those people would have to be registered, but I need more context. Your thoughts, Brian?
Yeah, it's exactly right. It looks like there is some missing info. Compensation, whether they do this on a regular basis or not, those two things are highly critical.
Yeah, key word. There's a lot of pivot words on NASA exam. Incidental is one of them.
That's right.
Felt great and narrowly missed the 7 mark. Oh, man. Locked in to go again 30 days. Love it. I watched Dean's post-exam. Yeah, I'll post that for you to everybody. I have 5 recommendations when you missed the mark. That podcast episode is called You Failed. Is it over? Spoiler alert, the answer is no. And then I give you 5 recommendations on how you should proceed. What else should you prioritize for max impact? Come to office hours, Daniel. Those are for paid students, and you're welcome to join us that or the jam session. We have a nice little Guru Nation going of people who join us for jam sessions and join us for those office hours. So, feel free to join us. That's at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. And we just go around the horn answering questions. Brian does offer tutoring sessions. Are you still at 150 or 125? What do you have, Brian?
Yeah, 125. Yeah.
125. I kind of joke. He's pretty picky about, his tutoring. So I charge $300 an hour and I'll take anybody's $300. Brian will make sure you're prepared to get the most out of his tutoring sessions.
And I'm particular in the timing when we do it.
Okay,
right? You might not be ready for me yet.
Yeah, that's right. I like 7-10 days out to plug holes. And I know a lot of times, Brian, I reschedule. I say, listen, let's reschedule this session for when we got more data points, know where we're at a little better.
Exactly.
Not sure if you remember me, Noel, stopping by to say hi, even though I passed all my exams. Woo! I remember you. We always, Noel, appreciate, as we said, victorious test takers popping in. It's good for morale. And she's passed all her exams, so she's in the business in September. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So 8 months in. All right. 8 months into our wonderful securities industry. I love it. We love recommendations. I think what has made the channel number one and why Brian is so popular. Brian and I have been contributing to testing victories for many, many years and helped thousands of people. And our business is very simple. If we can contribute to testing victories, people are happy. And more importantly, I mean, that's an important thing in and of itself, but they refer people to us. So I get accused of having 7 million views and 1.5 million watch hours because I trick people in social media to watch my stuff. I'm like, okay, how would I trick you to spend 1.5 million hours watching my videos or doing that? The reason I have those views and I have those subscriptions is because we add value. We add value. Brian adds value in terms of his paid supplement. I add value in terms of the free supplement. And Noel, we love referrals. I would say there's lots of corporate trainers out there, Brian. And I just warms my heart that they allow people to watch my videos at work, knowing both the content is on point and it's safe for both home and work. They don't have to worry about putting on earphones to listen to Brian and I, talk about testable.
It sounds like you're listening to those haters again.
Yeah, I am. I can let it go, but I'm a Marine. I don't let it go. I return fire. Using Achievable, is there any other tools or resources? Yes. I would definitely want you to supplement Achievable.
Yes.
I think Achievable is the content. I'm okay with it. But there's a lot of variance anecdotally from people I know who've used it between the practice test scores and the actual exam. So whether you supplement with my videos, Brian's paid supplement. So yes, I do think you should supplement. The 2 best supplements I told you for free are my YouTube channel. In terms of paid supplement, a Kaplan QBank, Guru 15, $55.80, 3,600 questions, performance tracker, Brian's video set, $100, get class notes, get a practice test. those would be my two favorite recommendations. That's $160 basically. Woohoo! But I just tell you, on fire. How should to prepare for a tutoring session? Well, I have it when you register for tutoring with me. There's an agenda that you must fill in, and you tell me what it is you want to talk about. Everybody's a little different. A lot of people like to do questions, QIDs that they have encountered that they want to go over. Tomorrow's tutoring session, she's struggling with convertibles. I said, well, let's go over convertibles. Spend the hour talking convertibles and do 20, 30 convertible questions. So everybody's a little different. Some people like to use slides, whiteboard. Usually in the session, we talk about what kind of learner you are. Do you want to use slides? Do you want a whiteboard? Do you want to do practice questions? Are you doing more than one session? Are you doing 2 or 3 sessions? So I wouldn't worry about that. The point is just book tutoring. I don't solicit tutoring. So, I feel bad, but I get unsolicited emails where people think I'm going to call them and talk them into tutoring. And I don't need to because I'm already booked. And I just think it's something you need to decide on your own how to plug the gap. I would say you shouldn't get tutoring. And I think Brian and I are on the same page. I mean, I'm more than happy. I mean, I had a guy with 24. I literally walked him through the entire 24 tutoring. I don't think the proper use of tutoring. To me, tutoring would be after you've done all the work, you're still having areas you're struggling with, and we use it to plug holes, plug gaps. That's what I think tutoring is for. So that's my personal opinion. But, it helps if you are prepared. If you show up and I don't think you're prepared, I'll certainly tell you we should reschedule. I had a guy, and I said, listen, you don't even know what you're being asked. You don't want to know what questions are being offered, answers are being offered to you. It's a waste of your resources tutoring now. You need to lay some more base. Let's revisit after you get the book read, you get your, practice quizzes done, those kind of things. So there we go. Ooh, Test Geek was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty good. It looks like, is that it? It looks like we're all caught up. So I guess it's time for the Wheel of Fortune. Please do not put anything in the chat until I tell you that we are ready to collect your comments. And so, Brian, what would you like to make our word for today? Downpour. Boy, that is certainly appropriate. Don't put it into the chat until I get this done. Okay, now you can put that in the chat if you want a wheel, and I'll spin the Wheel of Fortune, and you may win a coaching call. That's what you win. Let me get the Wheel of Fortune up. Share screen. All right. Okay, so Downpour. If you want to participate in the drawing, it is Downpour. And remember, what you win is a coaching call. You go to Dean Tenney Tutoring. Let me put that up there for you. And you go to the class tab. So that's the same place you would book tutoring if you want to book tutoring. I'm pretty booked. I don't know if I have any. Most of my business referrals, so I don't even know if there's a slot available if you want to book tutoring. But you can find tutoring there. You can find shared screen practice there. But the class tab is where you find free stuff. And the class tab, if you don't see the coaching calls, because I haven't put it up yet, so I'll have to do it tonight or tomorrow. But the jam sessions are there, and the free office hours for paid students will be in the class tab under those headings. And if they're not there, one of two things. I haven't put them up yet, so check back. Or they cap out. I don't, let 50 people sign up. I keep it to about 5 or 6 so we can have a, more intimate kind of a group. Okay, anything else there? Are we ready to draw? All right, here we go. Boom. Kyle. All right, Kyle. So you are the winner. So go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com, class tab, coaching call. If it's not there, check back tomorrow. It will be there. And just register for your coaching call and bring whatever questions you may have, and we will knock those out. Yeah, let's get rid of the boom. Let's get Brian and I. Boom. Let's get rid of this. And boom. All right. Anything else? Hot dog. Hating to use the cap for my test prep. Scheduled to take 7 next week. Taking 8 practice exams. I love that. Wow. Just got 68. We'll get that out of your system, man. Things happen. So I'm not worried about that 68. So it shouldn't destroy your confidence. You got to be more resilient than that. So Samantha, I don't know what happened today, if this is your second one, but that's in terms of a standard deviation variance. I'm not worried about that. What I would do is take another one and see if you bounce back. I'm almost positive you're going to bounce back into your normal band there. So any suggestion, Brian, your suggestion? I say get it out of your system, man.
Yeah.
Do another one. That's what I would recommend. All right. Looks like that's it. Okay. As I say, remember, inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. And Brian, you say?
Samantha, this is especially for you and everyone else, of course. You got to learn to keep it simple. Stay with what you know. You take the test. Don't let the test take you.
Woo! All right, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. I'll see some of you in the jam session. So some of you I'll see sooner than that. Otherwise, we'll see you next Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're here. It's our ritual. Bye-bye.